Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
And tonight we'll be reviewing the next installment in our series or franchise, Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, now, we did Star Wars, the first movie, which was actually number 4, A New Hope. This was the next one. Which is number 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Then you got the Return of the Jedi at number 6. Then it does all the prequels later on.
Yeah, and this was released in 1980, which is around the same time Carrie Fisher's did another movie role, which was The Blues Brothers. That was also released in 1980.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And
Very good.
Yeah, where she starred with another guy named Frank Oz, who just appeared in that movie as well.
He played a bit role. He played the guy at the jail.
Yeah. And I think Steven Spielberg was in that one too, I'm not sure.
Was he?
As a cameo.
Oh, cameo. Well, there you go then.
Anyway.
The amount of crap we find, hey, little bits of information and stuff.
Yes, so let's get on to this movie.
Okay, here we go. Our usual rubbish. Production company, Lucasfilm Limited. Surprise. Produced by Gary Kurtz. He did the first movie as well. Directed by Irvin Kershner. Screenplay was done by Lee Brackett and Lawrence Kasdan. Now, it's not quite... It wasn't a co-written thing. He wrote the original draft along with George Lucas's involvement. Because George wrote the story, obviously, and he was giving her the ideas, and she was putting it together. And sadly, she passed away from cancer, which is very sad. So George then wrote a revised script because he had some changes he made. So he made the second draft, I believe, and then he took it to Lawrence Kasdan to fine-tune it and start working on it to make it a better product. Yeah,
and this one, if you guys heard, which you imagine you probably have in previous events, this was considered, Harrison Ford thought this was going to be his last ever film in the franchise. Because he wanted, he says here, let me see, he wasn't entirely sure or certain he wanted to come back for the third installment. And so he kind of ad-libbed the final line that was ad-libbed, in that scene when he was being carbonized.
No, that was not quite the same. That's another thing. He actually came back because he wanted to try and make the role better than the first movie before he left the series.
Well,
now that ad-libbing role at the end, they had trouble with the lines then. They're trying to find suitable lines, and when Princess Leia says, "I love you," and you're supposed to say something romantic.
Yeah, well, his one
it didn't work.
Yeah,
he just said, "I know."
Yeah, this is what his original line was.
Okay.
Just remember that, Leia, because I'll be back. I'm sorry, but
things like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It doesn't sound. I see. It doesn't sound right, don't you?
No.
I think it sounds better that he says, "I know," is better than nothing.
But he ad-libbed that line because they're getting tired of doing takes and trying to get it right, and it just didn't work. So he said, "I know," and that was his line, and a bit of an ad-lib. And actually, the same as when Luke Skywalker in the first movie was in the Stormtrooper uniform. He says, "I can't see out of this thing." That was an ad-lib line. That wasn't supposed to be in the film.
Yeah.
He really couldn't see through the visor. So it's surprising what little things come out.
Anyway, moving on.
I got lots and lots of copious notes here. I'm not going to give them all to you, but this was originally budgeted at $8 million to make. It actually cost about $30 million, so they had a bit of trouble with finances during it and had to get refinancing and stuff, and then almost lost control of the movie near the end of it and different things. But it grossed about $538 at the box office.
Gee.
$538 million, not too bad investment on $30 million. The first one made quite a few $100 million as well, so you would think someone had a bit more confidence to throw money at him.
Also, guys, we didn't mention this in our last episode, but the guy who plays Lando, what's his name? Bill D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams, yeah.
He had previously auditioned for the role of Han Solo in Star Wars 1997.
Oh, okay.
And he finally landed the role of his old pal, Lando Calrissian, as you well know.
Yeah.
So I guess he was another actor that was never mentioned in the first movie.
We didn't know that he had actually applied for a role. Now, actually, having said that, I was going to mention it later. There were some critics about Lando Calrissian's role being an Afro-American guy playing a real cool dude, and I think he's been stereotyped, cast, whatever. Actually, they didn't choose him because he was an Afro-American. They chose him because the best guy for the role. Now, he would have come over just the same way whether it was a white guy or an Afro-American.
Or even Asian.
So, guys, please get over this racist crap. It's...
A role is a role.
He liked the role. He applied for the role. He did the role, and he gave it the Billy D. Williams treatment.
Yeah, he gave it gave it his all in that role.
And when you look at his personality, and he was in Batman.
Yes, he was.
And he had quietened down the role because of a different role, but it was still the same personality. He was still Billy D. Williams playing a role.
And Lando Calrissian and the role he did in Batman, they have something in common. They were both they both owned or governed an area in outer space, or in Batman, he just worked in Gotham and
whatever.
was a
forget that part. It's talking about his personality.
I know. I'm just saying.
But he brought his personality to the role, and one of the things he liked about the role, because he was flamboyant and he wore a cape.
Yeah.
He liked the cape idea. Oh, this looks really good. I'm going really smooth in that. Well, he wanted to play the role. So you racist guys who keep saying black type stereo cast, whatever you want to call it, leave it alone.
At least he's playing a co-star, and he's got lines.
Remember that lady who was in Gone with the Wind?
Yep.
That Hattie, I can't remember her last name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
She was interviewed at one stage, and she said she'd rather get be paid so much ridiculous amount of money to play a maid than be given 2/10 of bugger all money to be a maid.
Yeah.
And she was happy to play a maid in those movies.
And Bill, he's one step up from that sort of thing.
A few steps up from that, thank you kindly.
He's playing a role of a guy who owns Cloud City, which is a very big role.
And it could have been male Caucasian or an Afro-American. It could have been Mexican, it could have been a Chinese, could have been anybody. It just that he wasn't chosen for his colour. Or his Afro-American
I'm going to tell you guys something I learned from George A. Romero. He said when he was casting his leads, he wasn't looking at the ethnic group.
No, he just said, "Hey, Dwayne."
He just casted them because they fit
the role. The guy applied for the role. He did his screen test. Yeah, he'll do. So
So it's not.
There's no typecasting.
So there's no ethnic group in scripts.
Yeah,
it's always they do describe them in detail.
There is sometimes. Yeah,
they don't describe the color of their skin or their hair color.
I could go reverse bias. You look at a lot of the old American cowboy movies. They got Indians in it. A lot of the Indians weren't Indians.
No,
they were white guys with a bit of makeup on the face and look like Indians.
Anyway,
isn't that reverse bias?
Anyway,
reverse racism.
Let's talk about who stars in this, even though we already know who the leads are.
That's my little tirade for the moment. Okay, 30 mil budget, 538 box office, did great. I won't go too much through the stars. They're the same guys: Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, Harrison Ford, Han Solo, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, love the buns. Billy D. Williams is a new guy. He landed Calrissian. Anthony Daniels reprised his role as C-3PO. David Prowse is also Darth Vader.
And James L.
Jones is also the voice. And Peter Mayhew is Chewbacca. And Kenny Baker is in the tin can. And Frank Oz is introduced as Yoda. And he's also the puppeteer, along with someone helped him out. Yeah. I think there was 2 puppeteers for it.
Yeah. Interesting thing, guys. George approached Jim Henson. They were best friends still, and he asked him whether or not he could be take part as the puppeteer and the voice of Yoda.
And
of course, he was busy working on a Muppet movie at the time.
You know the funny part would be?
What's that?
If Jim Henson did it, would Yoda have sounded like Ernie?
Good point. Anyway, so he passed the role on to his colleague, Frank Oz, obviously.
Now, here's a fun thing before casting. The Emperor is voiced by a guy called Clive Revell, Revill. Mm-hmm. But it was actually portrayed in the hologram by a female with a mask on.
Wow.
Her name is Elaine Baker, and I think she was part of the production team, like the wife of the guy, one of the guys of the production team.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
interesting, hey?
Now that we've gotten the credits out of the way, even though that's so simple when you think about it.
Oh, by the way, speaking of the credits, you know how they start the movies there? They had a bit of a spiel, Lucasfilms, yada, 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 and that rolling footpath of dialogue, and they get straight to the movie.
Yeah.
They wanted to do that again this time at the film guys, the guys who create the guilds or whatever, said, no, you're supposed to put the credits at the front of the movie.
Bull.
And they actually got fined for not putting the credits at the front of the movie.
Oh, no.
They were going to do a big fine, but the thing that was actually made in England, they had their own rules over there where they made it in England, so the American rules didn't quite apply. So I think they actually fined the producer, not the production company. It was a lesser fee.
I don't know about you and everyone else here, guys, but I think the way they do the intro in Star Wars, it works.
But I saw a movie the other day. I turned it on, put in the old machine, started watching it, and it went straight into the story. And the credits came up about 10 minutes into the story.
Yeah, because...
I mean, I didn't know what I was watching.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't even say, hey, here you going. So-and-so movie. Nothing. Not a sausage. Yeah. How the hell would you know? You would think you'd have at least a couple of seconds saying at least what the movie is.
True.
Before it starts into the movie. But no, but 10 minutes into it, that's when the credits rolled up.
Yeah. Before I begin talking about the story itself, I'm going to say, unlike other... When I was little, I used to think this movie was not really my cup of tea. But as it's grown on me now, I've gotten older, and I realised that thanks to Empire Strikes Back, without it, we would have not have known about the whole twist, amazing twist. We'll never know. Yeah,
and actually, Darth Vader's role was actually brought forward into the movies. He was supposed to be towards the end of the movies, the storyline. Mm-hmm. He was actually brought forward to fill in the gaps, so it made it easier. But... Having actually, before you roll on, I'll just say something there. No, I've lost it.
Okay, don't bother.
Never mind. I've lost the plot. No, well, never
mind. We'll probably bring it up when we talk about the story. Yeah. So, let's begin the story.
Chatter.
So, our Rebel Alliance guys, they're now on Hoth, the planet, the ice planet.
Yes, very cold, snowy, really cold. If you want some ice for your scotch or bourbon, not a problem.
If you want to go someplace cold, go to Victoria.
Hey, you want to go skiing, bobsledding?
This place is cold, especially during summer. As I was talking about it with my mum a while back.
I'll talk about that later on.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Anyway, so Darth Vader is in search of the rebel that destroyed the Death Star, the first Death Star, I should say, because it's been destroyed. And he has evil plans for Luke Skywalker. Ooh. Anyway, we're back on Hoth. And Hoth, Luke is on his his creature thing, whatever it is, Tom-Tom, I think it is. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Tom-Tom, yeah.
Yeah, and he's searching for. He finds a meteorite, I think it was, that was launched by some of the Star Destroyers.
No, he thinks it's a meteorite.
He thinks it's a meteorite.
It's actually a special droid they send out to all different planets trying to search for Luke Skywalker.
And the Rebel Alliance,
And the Rebel
too.
Alliance, yeah.
Anyway, he phones it in to Han, who's also on patrol, too. And before he heads back, before he gets to head back, Luke suggests he'll go and check out the meteorite and call back if what he finds. But he doesn't do that because he gets attacked by a abominable snowman or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, and then he gets taken away into the cave. And luckily enough, Luke uses his magical force powers to kill the creature and get away.
Oh, the creature's called a Wampa.
Wampa.
W-A-M-P-A. What a great imagination.
Yeah.
What's a Wampa? Where do you get a name like that out of that?
Luke gets stranded in the middle of the Hoth snowy area, and it's very, very snowy.
And he's starting to get cold. The temperature's dropping very quickly.
Meanwhile, back at the Rebel base, Han and Leia are at each other's throats, if that's the word. Han wants to leave the Rebel lines because he realizes that he's in deep trouble with
He still hasn't seen Jabba the Hutt. You would have thought after the first movie he would have got his money, run, paid Jabba, and everything would have been
squared.
Fine.
But maybe due to late fees,
Jabba, a bit of interest,
Jabba the Hutt may have wanted a little bit more because of the lateness. I don't know. I can't be sure.
I don't know. Jabba looked like a reasonable slug.
No, not really. Anyway, Leia wants Han to stay, but she won't give a reason why. She thinks he's just he's a great leader. He works great with others. Yada yada yada. But he says no, that's not it. You got to give me a good enough reason for me to stay. But she won't admit it.
Yeah, she's developing feelings for little scruffy nerve herder, whatever.
Yeah. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Chewie is making maintenance repairs on the Millennium Falcon, and they're not going so well.
Yeah, he's grumbling about something.
Yeah, he then gets called out by some of the rebels to go search for Luke because he's his good friend, and it's wise to go look for your friend. Meanwhile, Luke is getting more lost in the...
He wasn't lost. He's trying to make his way back to the place. He's Tom snuffed it.
Yeah, and he has no clue where he is. So when he's kind of in subconscious mode, he kind of sees the white figure of Obi-Wan Kenobi there. It's telling him, Luke, I want you to go to the Dagobah system.
And meet Yoda and he will train you, blah, 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 blah.
Then luckily enough, Han was able to find him, and fortunately, his Tauntaun croaked.
He froze over too, It's just like your radiator, full of ice, cracks,
Yeah, luckily enough, Han was able to cut the creature open with the lightsaber and
made a fur coat. No, he put Luke inside to keep him warm while he put a little tent thing up in a biosphere or something.
I love the quote he says here. I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Yeah, well, that's a well-known line. Hey guys.
Luckily enough, the next morning, the Rebel Alliances send out their ships, and they find Han and Luke. And Luke eventually revives back at the Rebel base, and here we get word that the robots, the special probe, those Imperial probe droids, are searching, and Han and Leia discover them.
Yep.
And he blows them up, or not really, they self-destruct because they've been discovered and therefore detonate. And this means
the naughty guys know they're there now, so they plan an invasion and an attack.
Yeah. Of course, Darth Vader is sincere that they're definitely the Rebel Alliance is there, even though some of his superior officers, the Admiral guy, says it must be smugglers, it could be
anybody,
could be pirates, whatever. But he doesn't see things like Darth Vader.
Darth Vader has the Force.
And he knows that Luke Skywalker is there.
I'll be at the dark side, but he has the Force.
Unfortunately, this latest Admiral, he moves too close to the system, which allows the rebels to be alerted to their presence. And he snuffs that Admiral out like a candle. Pap!
Yeah.
And he promotes his next Admiral. This is going to be happening throughout this
movie. It goes through staff pretty quick, Next.
Yeah, so the rebels have to make their evacuation immediately. So they set up their men and start sending out their small the ships against the AT-ATs, whatever they call it.
Walkers, yeah. These big robot things look like
dogs or cats.
No, they're just dirty, great big four-legged
elephants.
Robot-y, dinosaur, elephant. I don't know what they're supposed to emulate, but they were just huge things of 4 feet. They're very cumbersome when you think about it. Yeah.
So Luke and the number of other pilots, they start making their attack on those AT-ATs. And, of course, while they're doing this, it's not going really well because some of the AT-ATs start attacking their base, which they end up blowing up, and this means that they have to evacuate very quickly and very efficiently. Yep. Unfortunately, everyone who's anybody has to run to their ships quickly.
Run for the hills.
Of course, Leia tries to get to her final shuttle, but she doesn't get there in time.
There's a bit of a cave in there.
Yeah, so Han takes her out on his Millennium Falcon.
Aluminum Falcon.
Even though the Millennium Falcon is still not 100% completely repaired.
Well, I'm working on it, Hurry up. Yeah.
Anyway,
get rid of the fake overtime.
So quickly they get onto the Millennium Falcon and they zoom out of there. And Luke, taking R2-D2, they take his X-Wing and they go out on their way, or merry way. And Luke explains that they're going to the Dagobah system.
So R2-D2 is going, huh? Why are we going there? Going, no, we're going somewhere else.
Yeah, meanwhile, while this is happening, Han, Leia, Chewie, and C-3PO, they're facing trial after trial of problems. They've been chased down by a Star Destroyer. They end up going through a minefield. Meteorite field, sorry.
Well, they go in there to hide from naughty guys.
And then they face a space slug.
A big slug. Well, a big wormy type thing. It's huge. Yeah. It's several hundred meters long and very, very wide, and actually fly inside his guts.
Yeah, and while this is all happening, Luke eventually arrives on Dagobah, and his ship, while he's trying to land, he ends up crashing into the water.
I don't know if he actually crashed. He comes out, it's all foggy and stuff, so he's actually going through some trees and ends up in the water. If he crashed, he didn't actually damage it, so he just ended up in the swamp.
Yeah, so... And it's not what you expect. So eventually, Luke has to find Yoda. Yoda lives in this place, and it's not what he imagined
he
it
thought
would.
At least have a village there or something, or a town.
There's not very many. He says that there are a few life.
There are a lot of life forms there, but
not probably any human being life forms.
He gets this little green, froggy-looking thing appear out of nowhere.
Yeah, very big.
I mean, you no harm.
And. Yeah, he meets Yoda. I mean, not Yoda. We don't know who he was.
Don't know
first.
who he is at the beginning.
And Luke feels frustrated. He doesn't want to talk to it. And he wants to find this Jedi warrior in order to become a Jedi. Yeah. Unfortunately, the creature wants to be his friend and take him back to his little dwelling. And there, the little creature admits that he is Yoda, and he thinks Luke is not ready to be a Jedi, and he doesn't feel like training him.
Because he's too arrogant, and he's too full of hatred, and fear, and other good groovy things.
See, a Jedi must he must have the deepest commitment and the serious of minds.
Exactly. Meaning he never had his mind on what he was doing. Yeah, he's always looking to the future.
He also says the same about. He also says the same thing about Anakin, Luke's father, who is always such an angry person, and he doesn't think that Luke would be a very promising pupil. But Luke says, "I won't fail you. I'm not afraid." And
you will be.
Then we cut back to Darth Vader, who is talking to his mentor by hologram, so you know. Yep. And he says that the son of Skywalker must become a Jedi, and along with other stuff. And he thinks Darth Vader realized if he can be turned, he could become a powerful ally.
Yes.
Yeah.
If he could be turned.
And of course, Darth Vader says he will join us or die, Master.
Okay.
Then we cut back to Han, Leia, and Chewie as they're going.
It does bounce backwards and forwards a bit because two stories going at the same time.
Yeah, Han and Leia, they finally get out of the asteroid field after escaping the giant worm, and
three stories actually.
And even though they're still being chased by the Star Destroyer, and Han comes up with the awesome solution by attaching himself to the Star Destroyer, like making it a hat.
Yeah. Well, he flies real close to it and then somehow or other stops real quickly and fixes the grappling hook sort of thing or whatever to the side of the Star Destroyer, and they don't know where he went.
Yeah, and this admiral,
very clever.
He goes to Darth Vader and expresses his apologies, and he snuffs it.
And he kills him. He says, after killing the Admiral, he says, apology accepted. Now, what a very polite Darth Vader is.
Now we have a new third Admiral.
Next.
Yep. Anyway, Darth Vader even assigns, bounty hunters to search the galaxy for the Millennium Falcon and the people on board.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is where Boba Fett sort of comes in his first incarnation.
Yeah, in this case. And anyway, so he arranges for them to do what they can, but they must bring back the people on the Millennium Falcon alive. No just killing them or anything like that. Anyway.
No, we take prisoners. Hello.
Anyway, Anyway, Han, Leia, and Chewie, they eventually come up with this solution of going to possibly to a safe haven in order to repair the Millennium Falcon. And so they suggest that they should go to Cloud City,
where his mate Lando Calrissian is the administrator therein.
Yeah, Han and Lando, they go way back, and I don't know their full story.
Oh, well, they might have had some adventures together,
Yeah. Anyway, so they make a plan of going there. After the Star Destroyer dumps their garbage in the space, they decide to float out there and pretend to be part of the garbage. And eventually, when the Star Destroyer zooms away, Han and Leia, they zoom
Boba
off.
Fett there as well?
Yeah, somehow he
had an idea. Yeah.
He got the idea of doing exactly what Han was doing.
Yeah.
Well, then again, two scavengers are better than one.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway, back to the story. Luke is training his heart out, and on 2 occasions, he failed on 2 occasions. One where he was inside the cave, where he fights himself, as Darth Vader.
A bit like a Jekyll and Hyde thing.
Yeah, and the second time when he tries to lift the X-Wing out of the water. Unfortunately, eventually Yoda was able to lift it out and tells him, that is why you fail.
He said, I don't believe it. He said, that's why you fail. Because you don't believe. If you believe, all is possible.
But it doesn't stop Yoda from continuing training.
And he used a line, do or do not.
There is no try.
There's no try. Now, Bruce Lee could have used that, and you wouldn't have known the difference. Yeah.
But there is a bit of truth in that logic. Anyway, while Luke is training, he then gets a premonition of the future, or we think the future. Yeah. And he senses Han and Leia in pain.
A lot of trouble.
Yeah, he senses them in a cloud city being tortured and hurt. And he thinks, will they die? And Yoda checks the future for him for a few seconds and says, difficult to see.
It's hard to see because it's always in flux, keeps changing.
Future does change. Future events could be altered sometimes. Yes. And Luke feels he must go to them, but Yoda says something very significant where he says, help them you can. What did he say exactly? I can't really say.
He said, help them you can, but you could actually destroy everything they've been fighting for.
Yeah. Luke thinks about this and continues training.
Yeah, gotta go.
Yeah, and back to Han and Leia
and Obi-Wan pops up in spirit form.
Yeah.
And he supports Yoda. And actually, in one of the original scripts, Ben was supposed to encourage Luke to go, but they changed around saying, no, your training's not complete. You're at a vulnerable period of your training.
Yeah. So back to Han, Leia, and Chewie. They arrive at the Cloud City. At first, they're not given a warm welcome because they're given no landing permit.
Well, yeah, they're a strange vehicle.
Yeah. Anyway, they eventually get a landing permit to land, and they meet Lando, who acts all smoothie, and is even smoothie to Leia.
He's sucking up to Leia. He's flirting with her.
And they eventually go through the Cloud City, and then C-3PO wanders off for a few seconds, and he encounters something that we could never understand.
We didn't know, but we figured there must be some stormtroopers hiding there.
Yeah. Then later on, Leia is concerned about where C-3PO is. We find out later he's in a
junk heap because he got blasted. He's in a box.
Chewie finds him and he brings him back to them, and Han suggests maybe you can get Lando's people to fix him, and Leia says no thanks, I don't trust him, and who can blame him?
No. Anyway,
Lando invites Han, Leia, and Chewie to a lunch. And when they get there, Darth Vader is there. And he says...
Please let me in about that.
He says, we'd be honoured if you can join us. And they did. And I don't know what happens after that. Anyway.
What do you mean? They had lunch. They had a drinky, a bit of food.
Yeah, right.
Talked about old times.
Yeah.
Showed family snaps, Yeah.
Anyway, back to the story. Luke is about to leave Dagobah, and he can't get the image of his friends in pain or in danger. But Ben tries to get, Mike says here, that he's on Yoda's side, saying you can't control the Force yet. You're in a vulnerable state. You cannot just go and leave because you think your friends are in danger. And at this point, that Obi-Wan says, it's you and your abilities that the Emperor wants. That's why your friends have to suffer.
Yeah.
And he then goes on to say, if you face Vader, you'll do it alone. I can't interfere. Meaning Luke has to do this on his own.
And he does well.
Yeah, and before Luke heads off Dagobah, Obi-Wan tells him, Luke, don't give in to hate. That leads to the dark side. Very good bit of logic.
Very wise little green fellow.
And Yoda says, strong is Vader. Mind what you learn. It saves you, it will can. And he said, as Luke promises to come back eventually, someday.
He does.
Yeah, and he drives off on his spaceship. And Yoda says to himself and Ben, told you I did. Reckless is he. Now matters are worse. And Ben says, that boy is our last hope. But Yoda says, no, there is another. Then we cross back to Chewie, Han, and Leia. They've been tortured badly, and I think, and this is my period, I think that this is a way for Darth Vader to get this
bring
this
Luke
to Luke
in, because he knows somehow or other Luke may be able to feel their pain.
Yeah,
maybe. Because Han was being tortured, they didn't ask any questions.
No, they didn't. Han assumed that they were there to be interrogated maybe for the Rebel Alliance's information.
Just a bit of torture, something doing Saturday afternoon.
Lando admits this, saying that they don't want you guys. Vader wants Luke Skywalker.
Skywalker. Yeah.
And they're the bait, and they plan on. Han's plan is going to be handed over to Boba Fett, the bounty hunter, because he's wanted by Jabba the Hutt.
And he's going to get the bounty.
He was going to get both bounties from Vader and probably from him. Anyway, Leia and Chewie, they're going to be staying in Cloud City, according to Vader.
That's what he tells Lando, originally anyway.
Of course, Lando objects at first, saying he doesn't like this plan of handing over Han to this bounty hunter. But what can you do? Politics. What? That's...
Bugger.
Yeah. Anyway,
you voted for him.
True.
No, I didn't vote
anyway,
for him. No, you took over.
Vader comes up with the solution of carbon freezing.
Freezing him in carbonite, which is a little bit like cryogenics.
Yeah, and Lando objects at first, saying that carbon is only used for some other stuff, and thinks that this might kill Luke or something.
Well, it might kill Han too.
But he decides to use Han as a guinea pig. So they then bring them in, and Chewie objects. He kind of causes a fuffle. He kind of knocks over a few stormtroopers in his wake.
Yeah.
And eventually...
He does. He can't control Wookiees.
Eventually, Han tells Chewie to settle down and protect Leia in his absence. And he then kisses Leia, and she says, I love you.
And he says, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
What a good throwaway line.
I know I'm rushing ahead, guys, but Han and Leia, they start growing to like each other in this one.
They haven't done anything. No, they haven't been doing anything naughty. No. Horizontal mumbo or anything.
But as I said before, well, I may have not mentioned this before, Star Wars knows how to keep it clean.
It's not about the sex. It's about the action and adventure and a sci-fi environment.
Yeah. Star Wars is always about keeping it zipped.
Actually, this one's a little bit darker than the first movie, though.
I agree, it is.
Yeah.
That's probably what was going through...
That was part of the negative part that some of the critics came up with. They thought, well, it's not as light and bubbly as the first movie.
I don't think it was meant to be light and bubbly. I think it's supposed to show different sides to the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the story.
Carry on.
Han gets frozen in carbonite, and we then see... He gets pulled out of it, and we see Han frozen, and we then find out from Lando that he's still alive in perfect hibernation. Then one of Darth Vader's men come in and say that Skywalker's just landed. He's given a flight permit, whatever, and Darth Vader is ready to start his next phase of his plan. But his new plan is to take Princess Leia and Chewie and the droid and C-3PO to his ship. Of course, Lando is annoyed by this. He says that I thought I was going to allow them to stay on here.
I've changed my mind.
This, I guess, Lando is starting to think that this bargain is not going really well, and he doesn't trust Vader as far as he could throw him.
Yeah,
so he looks over at his colleague, and they both have a look of saying, we're going to make a third plan in this stage.
Yes, and to retaliate.
Yes. So, anyway, Luke is inside Cloud City. There's no one around. It's all quiet, and
anyway, he meets up with Dad.
Yeah, he then
Darth Vader.
Yeah, he then sees Boba Fett taking Han, who's frozen in that thing, and planning on taking him to his spaceship. While this is happening, there's a bit of gunfire. Boba Fett is firing, and then the Imperial soldiers who are guiding Princess Leia Chewie down the hallway, they see Luke there, and they quickly try to get them away. And Leia quickly, in her passage, says, "Luke, it's a trap." And of course, I don't know if he hears her.
Oh, yeah, he's got good hearing. Yeah.
Anyway, he follows them in, and then the door closes on behind him, and then he peers in the carbon freezing chamber thingy-wing, and
he meets Darth Vader.
He says, "The Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you're not a Jedi yet." And then we get into this awesome fight scene. And while this is happening, Leia and Chewie and the Imperial soldier guys, they get apprehended by Lando and his men. And Lando tells his men to take them to the tower somewhere. I don't know which tower he's referring to.
Whatever.
And
Tower of London.
Yeah, and keep it quiet. And he's about to take Leia and Chewie out of there, but Chewie decides to strangle Lando.
I would too, after all this.
Yeah, and of course Lando tells him, "There's still a chance to save Han in the East platform."
Did you say something I couldn't hear?
Yeah. Eventually, they then head down that way. They meet up with R2-D2 along the way, and they try to get to the platform where Boba Fett's Slave 1, I think it is, ship. But fortunately, it's already heading off, missed by that much.
Yeah, missed by well.
Anyway, they quickly continue on, and Lando quickly phones in to Cloud City, explaining the situation to all his people, saying, "Attention, this is Lando Calrissian. The Empire has taken control of the city. I want you all to leave before more Imperial troops arrive."
Now.
Yeah, so he and Leia, they quickly get away from Cloud City, get back on the Millennium Falcon, and they quickly leave.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Luke and Darth Vader, they're in deep combat, and there were a few moments where Luke is nearly gets knocked off his feet here and there.
You made a comment here. Awesome fight. You know what?
What?
The guy in the Darth Vader suit, he couldn't hardly see through the helmet.
Oh, well, I imagine not.
So he was swinging the thing around there, doing the moves, and I think Luke had to actually work around what he was doing to make it look like they're fighting properly.
I get it.
Because he couldn't see anything.
That explains a lot, considering. Anyway, so Luke eventually nearly gets knocked out a window in one scene. Eventually, he gets, during another scene, Darth Vader has him on the ground and nearly says, "You are beaten. It's useless to resist. Don't let yourself get destroyed like Obi-Wan did." Unfortunately, he's trying not only to knock Luke off balance, but knock his mind out of balance.
Yeah, he wants to turn him over to the dark side so they can be naughty together.
Yeah, he quickly he's on a catwalk. Yeah, catwalk.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, and he gets close to a deep edge of the catwalk. And then Darth Vader cuts off Luke's hand and his lightsaber curls away.
Yeah, it's funny that.
Yeah. Luke screams in pain.
That would hurt.
And it would hurt. Yeah. And Darth Vader saying, "There is no escape. don't make me destroy you. And he says, Luke, you must realize that you're most all-powerful and stuff, and you must join me, and then I'll complete your training. With our combined strength,
we can take over everything.
Yeah. But Luke tells him, I will never join you. And he says, if only you knew the power of the dark side. Obi-Wan has never told you what happened to your father.
He said, you killed my father.
That's Darth Vader. This is a twist I love so much.
No. Guess again.
No, that's not Darth Vader, that's me. He says, no, I am your father.
He said, no, that's impossible.
Yeah.
And Princess Leia is...
No, don't go there. I told Mike, I warned Mike not to bring Robot Chicken in this podcast.
Right.
He then goes on to say, Luke, you could destroy the Emperor. He has foreseen this. It is your destiny. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son. And Luke takes one look down at the low abyss, down, really down.
He's in the top of a long tubey thing.
Yeah, but Luke quickly drops off there, and he hurls himself down.
He'd rather die than join the dark side. Isn't that lovely?
Until he gets caught on a air. What do they call it?
An aerial, I think.
Aerial.
It looks like an aerial.
Yeah. An
communication thing.
Yeah, communication thing.
Yeah,
and he's
dangling
there. Eventually, he starts calling out to Ben, saying, "Ben, please." And then he realizes that Ben.
Ben's
this is
ain't
what
gonna
Ben.
help him.
Yeah, Ben did warn him that he cannot help him or interfere in any way.
So he says Leia, and Leia gets a message.
Yeah. She eventually finds Luke dangling there, and Lando quickly gets to the top of the hatch of the Millennium Falcon and helps Luke in. Eventually, Luke and Leia embrace, and he gets taken to the medical wing of the
in the Rebel fleet, and they give him a new arm, a prosthetic.
Before we get to that, they continue on through the galaxy, and as they're heading out into space, Darth Vader is informed by his admiral guys that the hyperdrive, the light speed thing that allows them to go really fast
has been deactivated.
Yeah, see, they've gone through several problems throughout this where they couldn't get the light speed working.
And now people keep mucking around with it, don't they?
Yeah. Anyway, eventually, R2-D2 was able to fix it in time, and they were able to zoom off before Darth Vader got to him. And instead of Darth Vader killing one of his admirals again, he just walks off feeling defeated.
Oh, bugger. Yeah.
And then we cross to the Rebel Alliance, and Luke is being given a prosthetic hand, whatever, I think it is.
Yeah, prosthetic hand, yeah. And very nice, works well.
And Lando talks to Luke in a walkie-talkie, telling him about that they're gonna be heading off soon to Tatooine in order to find Han and get Han back and all that stuff.
Yeah. Fade to black.
Then we watch them fly off, and we fade to black, obviously.
There you go. Right, okay.
The end.
Now, I'm not going to talk too much, because I spoke about all the background stuff and everything about Star Wars 1, so George Lucas, even though he wasn't directing this or anything, he backed off and let somebody else direct it, but he was actually...
He was an executive producer in charge.
But he was actually in the background guiding the director.
Lucky.
So he was in control of the project, but not up front yet.
Yeah,
because he was working on another movie at the same time as well. What was it? Tomb Raider? Raiders? He was working on another movie at the time anyway, so he's like, okay, you do that, I'll look over your shoulder, I'll tell you what I want you to do, and I'll go work on the other thingy. And he did that.
Oh, by the way, I should mention something that's not really important at this moment.
It's all important.
Mark Hamill's wife gave birth to his first son, Nathan Hamill, earlier on one morning, and Mark went straight from the hospital to the shoot. This was the day they filmed the shoot of Luke climbing out of the snow speeder before it crashed by the Imperial Walker, and Hamill broke his thumb during the stunt. As I told you before, he did all his own stunts in this production, as Mike would bring it up.
Now, I will say one thing. This was not the movie he actually had planned after his first movie. He had a dumbed-down version. He's going to do a cheap and nasty sci-fi after Star Wars, the first movie, because he thought, well, just in case it dies and it's bum at the box office, I've got another script to fall back on and see if I can make a bit of money on that. But because the first movie was so good, he had to rewrite the script to make a better movie. So, and this is what we actually see in the second movie.
Also, guys, James L. Jones believed that Darth Vader was lying about being Luke's father with the when he read the script back then. And, well, back in when he started reading the script for Return of the Jedi in 1983.
Well, actually, the funny part, when they're doing that scene there, the guy in the Darth Vader suit, David Prowse, whatever, he wasn't told the lines because he was going to be voiceover anyway.
I know, I imagine.
And they didn't want anyone to know that Darth Vader was Luke's dad until right at the end of the movie, so no one could let out a bag and get into the newspaper.
So the only people who know
Luke Skywalker, because he had to know, and the director and maybe the DOP and whatever. Man,
so did Mark Hamill, was he aware of... Oh, never mind. I mean, he probably didn't.
Mark Hamill knew, but the rest of the cast didn't know.
Meaning,
and only the director and whatever knew what was going on. And then only when James Earl Jones did his voiceover for it, that James Earl Jones was made aware of what was actually spoken by Darth Vader.
Yeah, I can imagine that, considering most of the dialogue for James L. Jones would have been recorded in a recording studio,
exactly right.
Someplace else, and
here
it would have been Luke saying his words, and then we have a big gap for Darth Vader to say his lines, and then Luke talks again, and then we get another...
James Earl Jones may have only been involved in the project for, say, a couple of hours in a studio. You go, here are your lines, read them. And
considering Darth Vader is not a very chatty person, as far as we're concerned.
He doesn't say, how the wife and kids going, nothing like that.
He's mostly, or...
He's all business. And emphysema and...
well, I can't really do his voice, his breathing. Not with this mouth.
That's like me in a bad morning.
As I said before, Harrison Ford he didn't make plans about coming back, but eventually he did come back, and I feel gratified that he did, because I don't think it was a big problem for him, because I mean, I think the big picture was he was worried that he would become a household Han Solo name.
Yeah, but he became a household Indiana Jones instead.
Yes, and he's done other roles after that, where he played a president in Air Force One. He played a romantic lead in Sabrina. He's been in several other roles, and people still may remember him as Han Solo and Indiana Jones, but he's still remembered for his other roles too. Isn't that right, Mike?
Yeah, all that good stuff, I won't go too much. There's just lots of pre-production stuff went on with the studios. Even after the success of the first movie, the studios were still a bit going, well, where can we go from here? And the script wasn't totally formatted properly.
No pleasing people.
And Alan Ladd Jr. Stood up for him and is supportive, and he's at the studio, Fox Studios there, and he stood up for him, believed in the project. So, that sort of helped a bit, but anyway, irrespective...
Oh, I forgot to mention, guys, with the exception of being sucked out of the Cloud City window, Mark Hamill did all his own stunts, except for that one, obviously.
Well, whatever.
I'm just saying that Mark didn't probably do all of them, considering how most of the stuff is dangerous, maybe. Except for the fall, obviously, where he fell in...
some mattresses.
He probably fell on some mattresses in the behind the scenes.
Now, what I was saying, George was an executive producer on this one here, so he looked over the shoulder of these directors or whatever, but he was doing Raiders of the Lost Ark at that time. So when he finished that, he came back on set and had what was going on a bit.
Good thing he looking over the director's shoulder. I don't know what would have happened if he went.
No, he told him what he wanted, and he believed that the director could do the job. And the producer at what's his name, Gary Kurtz, was the guy who used the first movie, so he had people there he could rely on.
Sweet.
Yeah. Even though they had a few grumbles a bit, he had to fine-tune a couple of things and whatever. I won't go too much. Like I said, the lady who wrote the first scripts, he passed away when on the first draft, after the first draft was almost completed, and which is sad. That's why I got two scriptwriters involved. They didn't do it together; they did it separately.
Oh yeah, guys. Yeah. Joe Johnson, the director of movies of Rocketeer, the Jurassic Park 3, I think it was, Captain America, and the Nutcracker, and the Fourth Realm, whatever, doesn't matter. Worked on a visual and art effects for this movie. He had a cameo as a rebel in the Echo base before the rebels evacuated. I just thought you should know, guys. Well, even though it's not really important, guys, but I just thought I might put it out there.
Interesting.
Why is that?
No.
Well, I just mean that
the things you have
the one thing I like about
my notes here.
The one thing I like about Star Wars is that you never, even the people who are crew members can be offered roles, even though they may have be able to act a little bit here and there, and that makes a big difference. If you have acting talent and as well as special effects and directing, then you're a shoo-in in any production company.
Yeah. But anyway, like I said, just going back to the drafts of the script and everything, they went through so many things and so many changes, and it just went on and on and on and on and on, and they finally got through it all. And the guy who actually helped with the script writing in The Raiders of the Lost Ark was brought on to help fine tune the last drafts of the
very good
of this. Yeah.
Very good.
He had a few troubles with. Obviously the script, but he got over it, and so many changes later. The fifth draft was completed in February 1979, revising some scenes, including a hogman species devised by what they devised, and Lucas didn't like because they perceived them to be like slaves. But didn't the hogmen show up in the next movie?
Yeah.
They were like guards and stuff.
Yeah, given a higher purpose.
Yeah, they're working for Jabba. Yeah, those hog guys. Yeah.
Anyway, I want to bring up this. You mentioned before to me, Mike, this question when we were watching Empire Strikes Back last night. You asked about R2D2's how he was being thrown about in this production.
He probably wasn't in the can.
Well, here's the thing. There was 8 R2D2s were used to making this production. Kenny Baker used 2 that were lighted and more comfortable than the first, those ones he used in Star Wars 1977.
Yeah, slightly better.
The 3 were dummies versions, which could be damaged, and another 3 were remote control.
Yeah. And actually, in some areas, they had trouble making the remote controls work.
True.
Oops.
But anyway, I'm kind of glad that they got around to using this many R2D2. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying C-3PO. I think it's because.
Oh, here it is. James Earl Jones.
Yes.
He got $15,000 for half a day's work to do the voiceover for Darth Vader.
Well done, James.
That's not bad for say 4 hours work. Yeah.
See, guys, about the benefits of being.
There, he had a cup of coffee. Yeah, maybe a croissant, maybe, or a couple of donuts.
This is see the benefits of being,
having a great speaking voice,
and a good round actor.
Yeah.
I mean, despite your ethnic group, you're still doing a good job, and you're being paid for it, which is even gooder.
Okay, this movie introduces Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian, the first Afro-American to portray a main role in a series.
Really?
He wasn't brought in for that. He was brought in because he could do the job. Okay.
See?
He found the character interesting because of its cape and other things.
Cape.
Williams believed this gave him room to develop the character. Williams said Lando was much like himself, a pretty cool guy. So what you saw in the movie was Williams playing Landau, or so he wasn't being stereotyped as a cool Afro-American guy. That's who he was, and he put himself into the role.
Yeah. And I love the character development between Leia and Han in this, where they started off bickering and acting nasty to each other, and then they start developing feelings for each other, and then I guess she's starting to wonder if she loves Han or Luke. Luke is not a nice country boy as we know him, but Han is really surprising when you think about it.
Actually, here's something. The Kirshner, the director, he described Williams as possessing a fantastic charm of a Mississippi riverboat hustler. And that's why I like working with him. He said he brought something to the role. And these people say, oh, he's overdoing the black bit. I'm sorry.
Give me a break. Kill me.
Stop beating...
Stop being
pardon the expression, but stop beating the black drum all the time. The guy did a good job.
Yeah.
He's an Afro-American gentleman. He's a good actor. He did a role well, and get off this racist crap, okay?
Yeah, I'm getting tired of this racist crap, guys.
I hear it
fans
all the time.
And
I read it all the time.
Yeah.
You get an Afro-American person in a role and say, they're demeaning their role because they're playing a servant or they're doing a menial job. In retrospective, 100 years ago, that's the jobs I was given.
Yeah.
You know,
and bear in mind, guys, they're working next to the lead characters, and in this case, he's playing a good co-star character, and when he did Return the Jedi.
But you look at that lady in Star Trek, Nichelle Michaels, is it? The lady who played Uhura.
Oh yeah.
In the TV series.
Yeah.
Well, she was there, and she was one of the crowd. And she wasn't beating the Afro-American or flag or a drum and everything else. She played a role, and she did very good. This is very inspiring.
If you have a problem, guys, don't take it up with some higher authority. When actually, these guys, the actors, they enjoy doing these roles. They want these roles. They don't want to be...
It doesn't matter whether they're white, Afro-American, Chinese, Mexican, Japanese, whatever. Russian, dare I say.
Yeah. If they've been denied the role, then you scream louder.
Then you say, "Yo, you didn't give me a fair chance."
This is why
you're biased.
Yes.
And then you put somebody in there and say, "Oh, you're exploiting the people."
Yeah, I mean, this is what I mean, guys.
I get annoyed.
Whether or not they get the roles, whether they're co-star or main star roles, it doesn't matter. As long as they're working and they're being paid, say, several $million dollars
you get
for
back
all
on
these
Star
roles.
Trek. Yeah. Okay, Nichelle Michaels, I think her name is. She was an Afro-American lady, and you had two guys. One guy, was he Chinese-y?
Yeah.
The Asian-looking guy. And the other guy, I think he was Russian, or he portrayed a Russian, but that wasn't his real accent.
I get it.
He put on a heavier accent.
I get it.
But they were portraying a Russian, it was an Asian, Afro-American as part of the team.
Guys, get off your stupid Afro-American or any ethnic group horse, okay? Leave it alone.
Let them do the jobs.
Let them do their jobs. Let them get their money. Let them get the girl.
I'm the least racist person around. I've got friends who come from different nationalities, and I don't care.
I don't care either. I mean, I do like it that in Return of the Jedi, he continues to having a bit of played a main role in the, Land Calrissian.
When I was working before,
I was a little annoyed when with Rose, much later character. I was so annoyed by the behavior.
They dumped her role down too much.
I'm so annoyed with you guys out there who just asked nasty to her.
Some people badmouthed her enough. Why she got a decent role, and they squashed her on the second movie.
I'm so annoyed at every single fan who
it wasn't fan. Some people out there, some trolls got stuck into it.
Yeah.
And
started going on Instagram.
When they rewrote the next script, they dumped a roll down.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is that when I was working my last job before I retired, I had a guy there. Well, we had a lot of ethnics, different races there, and one guy was known to have said, "You're picking on me because of my nationality." I won't say what he was, and that person turned around, and it wasn't me, but I was there, and I said, "No, I'm picking on you because you're a nutcase, or you're a twit, you're not doing your job properly, or whatever it was." Get over it, guys. You can't beat the ethnic drum all the time.
Yeah, it's not always about the ethnic groups.
The world's getting smaller. There's no room for this ethnic crap. Just get over it.
And stop beating
ethnic
the Black Lives Matter type thing.
No, forget that. I mean, that's a personal thing out there about people dying in custody. Forget that. Okay, but I'm saying when it comes to the media, they take the best person for the role. I mean, we saw that movie we reviewed, crikey, Resident Evil.
Yes.
The last one we reviewed a couple of months back.
Yes, just at the beginning of the year.
Did we have any ethnics in that one?
There was quite a few, actually.
Exactly. In normal roles.
Exactly. So anyway, guys,
bringing their own personality into the roles.
So guys, do you want to go to the reception part to this conversation?
Well, I'm not going to do too much on it. I'm going to say a few things. They did a lot of filming in Norway.
Really?
The snow area.
I figured that.
Yeah, it was so bloody cold.
Yeah.
Things weren't working properly. The makeup paint was freezing in the cans, and people were getting sick and blah blah. Things weren't working properly.
I would have, and there was thought that Han would not. I mean, Harrison Ford's character would not be there, but eventually they brought him on for that scene.
And actually, the acetate film they were using was getting too brittle because it was cold.
Yeah.
The lenses were fogging up, so they had to keep the lenses cold but the camera warm.
Yeah.
So many things. Yeah.
See, guys, when you're on a set and if for your camera will it feels the cold, and if it and the batteries inside it could easily phase out and kind of stop the camera.
I think if it gets really cold, the batteries drain quickly.
Yeah, and it's the same with if you're living in a hot climate and your it's the same with that doing it like that.
You get the moisture in it, and you don't want to do that.
So it's a two-way street. You have to be careful with your cameras.
Anyway, when I worked at Elstree Studios in England, they used a bucket load of sound stages to have all these things done, but there was a problem there, and they had to use less, and there was a lot of doubling up and moving stuff around, which actually made the filming a lot longer, and so went into cost overruns.
Yeah. So, can we get to the reception part?
I'm getting there. We're getting there. Critical reception. Really good. There you go. Well, it was. Most people liked it. There's some things they didn't like. It's a bit dark in the first movie, that sort of stuff. But generally,
They said the same thing about Temple of Doom was pretty dark.
No, this was darker. This had when you compare this to the first Star Wars movie, that was more like a fun adventure, action adventure film. This one was a tad darker.
Yeah, it was.
And some people are, it's changed its feel. Because you got a different director, but no, that's what George wanted.
Yeah, I think he wanted to show more sides to the universe.
Yeah, exactly right.
The Star Wars universe.
Yeah, exactly right. But I'm not going to go through so many on it, critiques.
After all, he was the one who brought Jim Henson on board to take part in it.
Now, you think, like, if they put Jim Henson in there doing Yoda, would he sound like Ernie? Or Kermit.
Well, not Jim Henson. I mean, he got Frank Oz.
Yeah, but he wanted Jim Henson first, but he could have. It might have sounded like Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, true.
I like Frank Oz's voice. It works. I like Fozzie Bear, and I like Yoda.
Yeah.
And I like Frank Oz. Actually, Frank was in a TV program of his own years ago. I think it was called Arnie or something, and he played. Yeah, I think from memory. And he's an interesting guy.
Yeah. Anyway,
here we go. I gave the other movie a 10. The first movie.
I'm going to give
I'm giving this one. I said the previous movie.
Oh, sorry.
Are you listening?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give this one a 10 as well because it ticks all the boxes.
Yeah.
I can't find anything wrong, even with their financial constraints and budget overruns and a few things behind the scenes they had to sort of make up and cover up with lighting and different things. They did a bloody good movie.
You would think the box office for the first one would have been convincing to investors that this was a gold mine.
Well, George is going to finance some of this himself.
Yeah.
Initially. But I don't think he had quite enough money to do the whole lot because he's doing industrial like magic as well and other things But the idea was to do that.
Considering where we were years ago, guys, Disney would have just ended with just one movie, and the rest of our previous other movies with spin-offs and reboots. They weren't. If it wasn't for George for stepping into the in director chair, we would have not had all these other ones coming out. which I feel guilty for.
Yeah, before I go, I didn't mention availability. Obviously, it's available through eBay,
DVD,
and Amazon, blah, blah. Yes, you can rent it, blah, blah. Now, I didn't mention it, I think, last night, but be careful. Oh, no, I did mention it, yeah. There's VHS copies, and I think the Super 8 there for the first movie. I saw it there. There's VHS copies of this obviously floating around still, so be careful. You might even have those big laser disc things as well, so if you're going to buy a copy, be careful what you buy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
anyway,
you might get the wrong product.
Anyway, guess so you guys know. They did again remastered this one in 1997. You know, just like the first one I mentioned. This one, I think, and the last one probably got remastered on the same year.
I think the three of them got remastered.
Yeah, they did, and I just saying that they probably did it all on that same year or something.
They re-released them there, and we saw it in the theatre. Yeah, we did. But
of course, I kept wondering to myself, how long do we have to wait for the next one after the...
But do you think about it? Before we go, they said the first movie was good, and this one's a bit darker. Look at Harry Potter.
Yeah.
There was 8 movies, was there? They were nice and light kiddies at the beginning, and they got darker and darker through the whole series. By the
fourth movie, I think, it was on the tad dark.
It was getting really dark.
Yeah.
To me, it was supposed to be aimed for kids, nice family movie. Yeah. And it was getting darker, and there's more violence, and people were dying, and
by the fifth and the other ones that came out, it was on the dark side. But they were supposed to go from ordinary teenagers, ordinary
young
little kids
growing up to
like
adult. A coming of age thing about good versus evil, same as this.
The same with Star Wars. It's about coming of age, growing up.
Yeah, and that's what's Luke. Luke was a naive little farm boy who went out into the world and became a Jedi Knight and a warrior.
Yeah. I know this. I kind of came up with this. I found this some interesting things when I was online on YouTube the other day, where it talked about strong female characters, and they explained the ins and outs why today's female characters they keep losing their what makes them good.
Yeah, I think of Sarah saying to me that what they do when they try to make a strong female character. They leave the flaws out.
Yeah.
When you have a strong male lead character, they put a few flaws there to make him vulnerable and to make him human. Where the female ones, they leave out some of that stuff in their character.
Yeah, see, you need flaws. You also need an end goal for that person to reach.
Sort of like that girl I mentioned, Jennifer Garner, who played Elektra. Mm-hmm. She was in the Daredevil movie, I think, originally, and did her own movie. Yeah. I don't think she liked those movies because they were too shallow, but for her, and she didn't want the part of the personality she didn't like, and I think it was the soft part of it, showing she was a bit vulnerable and a little bit open to love and stuff. You can't win sometimes.
Yeah, I know. Do you know, guys, I've noticed in the new Star Wars movies, they never mention love. Or even affection.
Or sex.
Or affection about each other.
Darth Vader loves his little boy. He wanted to save him.
I know, but I was referring to the ones now, not back then. I meant, in the past, we can probably admit we can say love and still have affection for one another. Yeah. But the new Star Wars, they don't even mention so much as the affection.
Well, let's have a look. No, there's a bit of attraction, but there's no relationship building in it.
And the one big flaw
in that one there, Poe and Rey in the later movies there. Yeah. You thought they would have got together, and Rey decides, the evil guy, and I'm going to try and turn him good and stuff, and he dies, whatever. There's nothing concrete in it.
Yeah, that's
there's
the
no
thing. They try to make Rey flawless. No, her only worry is finding her parents, and we find out her parents, but we then, she still hasn't changed.
Yeah, she hasn't grown. She hasn't developed. It's all like Frank Burns in MASH. From the day one that he showed up on set to the last episode he was in, he wasn't allowed to change his character.
The one thing, I think that this other person mentioned when I was looking up, she says that you have to love these strong female women. You must have common ground with them, and it's a little hard to like Rey because I don't know her end goal, because she says that she's learning the Force, but is she going to become a Jedi? It doesn't really say.
And the question is, where did she get the Force from?
Yes.
Is it in the family bloodlines? I always thought, that she might have been Luke Skywalker's little girl.
I don't think so.
But no, I thought at the beginning, he's had sex with somebody, he didn't know about it, and he's had a kid he didn't really know about, or he's keeping away from to protect her.
I remember the same thing.
Like he was when he was a kid.
Yeah, I remember reading an old book years ago. This was before the spin-offs and other stuff started coming out. I was reading these old teen books that I used to get from the shops, and one of them said one of the protagonists in the story. This was a Star Wars book, just so you know. And in that one, one of the lead characters was the son and grandson to Emperor Palpatine, and that's where I assumed or knew before everyone else that Rey was the granddaughter to Emperor Palpatine. Yeah. I knew this before everyone else did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I was getting the impression because she was a good girl.
I know that.
She might have been the fruit of Luke Skywalker and a lady. But obviously it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, I knew this long before even everyone else, even the media, he'd never even thought of.
Well, maybe they didn't let the cat out of the bag, so no one actually knew.
They just put too much assuming that she seems to be like Han Solo was very close to her. He's like the father she never knew, as Kylo Ren said.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting thought, but
anyway, we are getting a bit long in the tooth here.
Sorry, guys.
We could go on for hours, but I can tell about.
I don't want to bring up
different things.
I didn't want to bring up this one because as I said before, I've been trying to train my mind to focus on the old Star Wars movies instead of the new crappy ones that are coming out.
No, they're not crappy. They're just different. Okay,
just different and not even
they've lost the George Lucas
magic.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, if he was an executive working on the set,
consultant, something or other,
or at least consulted with the write a contract with Disney to allow him to be one of the executives in charge, I could then.
It could have actually.
Cool
the movies could be a tad different.
But I feel like things are. They've gone a different direction, obviously.
So, well, slightly, yeah. It just made another sci-fi, but along the same style, but so different.
Anyway,
it doesn't matter. We've got to go now.
Yeah. So thanks for watching listening to this latest episode, everyone, and we'll check out Return the Jedi for our final of our installment.
And then we might pick up the gauntlet again in a couple of months' time and do 1, 2, and 3, maybe.
Yeah, I know that I
didn't mind that 1, 2, and 3.
I'm just just following it the way George filmed it.
Released it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter to me much about who starts what.
We're doing it chronologically insofar as the years they were issued or released. Yeah.
Yes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and please leave any comments on what you guys think about this. Oh, incidentally, Mike, someone commented earlier about how this is their favorite new podcast. It was nice compliment.
Really? Oh, great.
Yeah.
They like Star Wars, eh?
No, they like the
the
Ghostbusters Afterlife one.
Oh, wait. So they like what we're doing.
Yeah, so
that's great.
We got a new fan. So thanks for liking our podcast.
How about all you others? We have how many? It's over 1,000.
Over 1,400 something.
Okay. Well, I want to see 1,400 comments come through on Facebook tonight. Okay.
Right. I would like to see someone out there talking, please.
Yes,
I like talking.
The airways are decidedly quiet.
Yeah, I would love it if you guys, if you're listening, please talk.
Yeah, say it's good, bad, you thought we're talking crap, anything. You know you're listening. Yeah, really nice. Yeah, the more the merrier. Then we know we're on the right track and we give you more of the same. Yeah.
Yes. So thanks for listening to our latest podcast, everyone, and we'll see you guys for our next one. This is Sarah Stephenson
and Michael
saying, "May the Force be with you." Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.